Well, good afternoon. I'm pleased to be with you. Let me shortly introduce myself. Bernhard Schulz, as I was already introduced, one of the managing partners of CERES. CERES is a certification body based in Germany, but with different local offices. One of our local offices is in Shanghai. We recently got recognized, accredited by the Chinese authorities to carry out certification of organic products inside and outside of China. So in my forthcoming speech, I'll try to give you an overview about the regulatory side of certification of organic products for the Chinese market, and also some basic requirements concerning import of organic products. While my colleagues are still fighting with the technical part, I'll start the speech because hopefully I'll remember most of it. Organic certification in China is something many people might have been thinking about why an additional organic standard for China. And interestingly enough, this standard has been in place since a couple of years. But recently, the Chinese government decided to strengthen the impact of the standard. So there was a regulation published giving the administrative support to the certification rules, which will come into force from April this year onwards. This means what had been possible in the past, that a product certified according to the EU regulation will cross the borders to China and be sold as organic in Chinese supermarkets, will no longer be possible. There are certain rules which had been in place, as I said, since a couple of years. Do we have a pointer, or shall I go with the finger? Excuse me, from the technical. Do we have a pointer?
First finger, then point.
Okay. So there is. What? I didn't get it. I need the microphone. Okay, then I'll just point with my finger at the bottom line of the pyramid. So there is one part of the legislatory system is specifically about the production standards for crop production, for processing of organic food, for import and trade. Then if you go to the next line, there is an additional implementation rule defining the certification requirements. Like, this concerns us as the certifiers. It concerns us as well as the first line on the top, which is the general regulation from the Chinese authorities about certification and accreditation. And recently, there has been issued and published the 2014 the rule which will come into force in 2014 April about the administrative measures. Most of what I'll talk about now is about the administrative measures, which defined some special issue of the Chinese organic standard. So first of all, it's applicable inside and outside China. There is no equivalency thing like organic EU is almost like Chinese organic. No, if you want to sell organic to China, it must be certified according to the Chinese organic standard. This inside and outside of China. And it covers the whole chain. So if you want to sell organic olive oil from Italy. Okay. Is it switched on? Yeah. If you want to sell organic olive oil from Italy, you need to certify the olive producers as well as the manufacturer and the exporter. The The standard itself has got, well, basically 4 different chapters. One is about feed production. Also, this includes animal production, processing, labeling. There is a whole section about labeling, which is very important and very detailed. And a 4th part, which is quite new to us as EU certifiers, or to you as companies which are probably certified according to the EU or NOP, which is the requirement of a management system, of a quality management system in organics. I'll go into more details in the next slides. I tried to highlight some of the special issues in the Chinese organic standard. Like, there is a technical term which is used and means a list of certifiable products. It's called certification catalog for organic products. It's nothing else but a list of certified products. They come from crops, livestock, aquaculture, processed products, and it includes the regular stuff which is traded all over the world. But if there is a product not listed in that list, it's not certifiable. Like, for example, goji berries. Well, goji berries are well known, especially in China, but they're not on the list. You cannot certify them according to the Chinese standard. The same for honey or tobacco. If you got a very special product, for example, acai powder from the Brazilian Amazon basin, for example, I didn't check, but I suppose it's not there. So it must be listed via the Chinese authorities. There's an application process and blah, blah, blah. There is the need, now coming back to the operator level, there is the need for each operator to carry out an environmental evaluation. This means you have to check your operation concerning air, soil, and water quality, whether your farm is in principle complying with the requirements of the local authorities. So air pollution is an issue which will probably not be complied on a farm which is very close to Beijing due to a high level of air pollution. Or if you're very close to a factory with a big risk of contamination of the environment, you won't be able to certify your farm. But this is a self-evaluation, and you as the operator, you have to provide it to the certifier. Then the operator has to implement a quality management system. Quality management system in the sense that you define, you assign the responsibility of taking care of organic integrity and labeling issues to a certain person within your company. This person must be trained and adequately supported. And then there is the need of annual inspections by external certifiers like CERES or other certifiers, which includes the entire operation. We are obliged to visit every single field. We are obliged to visit every single subcontracted operator. And it has to be done by a CCAA approved inspector. CCAA are Chinese state authorities. They go and do a verbal examine and approve the respective inspectors. There is no way and still no rule to certify farmer groups within a system of internal control and sample taking by the external certifier. Talking about samples, but talking about different samples. So product samples must be taken for each single certified product by the end product. So if you grow, for example, cabbage, cauliflower, and carrots. From all these 3 products, there has to be a sample analyzed in an accredited lab. If it shows to have residues, pesticide residues, you automatically get a 5 years revocation. 5 years for finding residues. There is a very strict non-compliance procedure. So if an operator gets non-compliances, he has got 30 days to correct them. In case he misses the 30 days deadline, it's automatically followed by a 1 year revocation. And we, as the certifiers, we have the obligation to continuously report to the Chinese authorities, to the CNCA, about the operator's application, the inspection plan, the report, certification results. Everything is uploaded into the CNCA database. And we have to comply with very strict deadlines. Well, the Chinese authorities want this to be done so that every single stakeholder within the chain can check whether an operator is currently certified or not, or for which product he is currently certified. Labeling a raw material like bulkware must be accompanied by a transaction certificate issued by the respective CB, whereas retail packages, they have to be labeled with a very special seal. We'll have a look at that afterwards. Conversion periods cannot be labeled with that special seal. If the operator misuses the label, he automatically gets a 5 year revocation. So these kind of sanctions are clearly included in the standard. It's not up to the certifier to decide whether it's 1 year or 5 years or whether to apply a revocation or not. It's in the standard and we have to. This is an example of the seal, which includes quite detailed information. First of all, there is the Chinese organic logo, the general logo for organic products in China. Oops. This was quick and automatic. Let's go back. What to import? No, this was done. Well, it makes me hurry because it will start again. Okay. So, organic certifier or general organic label. There are 3 kind of information in here, which is the number of the certifier, which is a product code, which is an unique code for that single label. The part here is normally covered by a rubber layer, and the consumer can just scrap away the rubber, like if you were doing a bingo or whatever kind of game, and then you can see this code. You can enter it in the internet or just scan the QR code, and you will be led. Yeah, so this is an example. You can scan it with your QR code. Okay, here we go. So this is the website of the Chinese authorities. You put in the code or the QR code is scanned, and it automatically pulls up the name, number, type of product, size, etc., etc. Well, these were some highlights. For me, they are really highlights, being an organic certifier used to other requirements in the EU and the NOP. Really interesting stuff. I don't want to judge whether it's good or bad. It's just interesting in first instance. Now, let's switch to the second part, which is some indications about the import procedures. Like, let's start with the general requirements for importing products, whether they are conventional or organic. This is the homepage where exporters and importers have to fill in the basic data for the import of every single imported lot of food. When the product comes to the port, the custom authorities are informed and they do an on-site inspection of the products which had arrived. So for any kind of products, also for the conventional, there must be a certain set of documents like commercial invoice, packing list, health, blah, 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 all the regular stuff. And the custom authorities, they may take samples for health safety reasons, like food safety reasons. For organic products, there are some additional requirements, like a copy of the current organic certificate, a copy of the transaction certificate, and if it was a retailer package, that very label which we had just seen on the package. So retailer packages have to be labeled with that seal which we just saw. The custom authorities may take additional samples. It's a may, to check conformity with the organic standard. Then there are some special requirements for certain products. Let's go to the second line. It says special requirements for importing dairy products. So in May 2013, the administration has published a decree which targets the supervision of imported dairy products to make them, well, in this case, to avoid misleading propaganda. So in case that the dairy product is labeled as award prize-winning goat cheese, for example, or a glory whatever, or certified by CMA or a German label or whatever, then this certificate or this award or whatever has to be approved by a diplomatic channel, which means Chinese embassy, consulate abroad, or the respective foreign embassy inside China. This is just an example. I want to say that there are certain food products for which there are additional requirements, and this is just an example for dairy. I'll give another example for edible vegetable oils, where in that decree there is a definition about vegetable oil, there is a maximum amount of insoluble impurities, there are label requirements for single edible oils, and also label requirements or name requirements for blended vegetable oils. I don't want to go into detail, just there are these things, and take care that you take them into consideration. There are tariffs. The tariff for imported food varies between 10 and 35%. And additional, point 2, you have to add the value-added tax, which is 17%. And you have to pay the taxes and the value-added tax in renminbi. There is a link to the current tariff policy where you get the exact data about the tariff for each single food item. Like, for example, recently in January 2014, there was a change that the tariff for milk powder was lowered from 15 to 5%, or the tariff for forage grass was lowered from 9 to 4%, or for cashews it was lowered from 20 to 10%. Just examples, don't remember them, it's just to let you know there is a regular change. Each year, every year, they just put a new updated version in the internet. That's basically it. So any kind of question will be, there will be room for questions now or later on?
Yeah, now you can ask some questions regarding the content of this presentation. Is everything clear? And yes, I saw one. Yeah.
Question regarding the quality management system requirements. Is this comparable to conventional standards such as ISO 20000 or IFS or something like this?
To be honest, I'm not very familiar with the ISO 22000. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I cannot really give you a good answer to your question, but it covers basically organic integrity. So I'm not sure whether all the food security items are in that as well. Yes. 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 Correct. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the self audit aspect is part of it. But the focus is on organic integrity and not that much on metal in the final product. So this is a food safety issue which is covered by ISO 22000, but not really by this one.
Okay. So another question: if there are questions about the content of this presentation, please ask now. Otherwise, we can open the discussion and you can ask your question later on also. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So please, yeah, your question, please.
Yeah, I was only wondering, to understand the story better, if you talk about organic, if I look at the Chinese organic market, what is then the percentage imported and what do you grow yourself organic following those standards?
Okay, I think this is a question for our panel discussion now, and I would suggest that our speakers firstly introduce themselves just very briefly, yeah. Perhaps you, Mr. Xia, you can say something about your activities. Please, everybody, say something about your activities, very briefly with 2 or 3 words. Yeah, you please first. Thank you very much.